Žal vam moram sporočiti, da je naša prva plenarna predavateljica odpovedala v zadnjem trenutku, tako da se v njenem imenu zelo opravičujem zaradi tega. Tako da bomo nadaljevali z drugim plenarnim predavanjem, in sicer s predavanjem kolegice Katrin Hein iz torej iz Leipzig Inštituta za nemški jezik. Predstavila nam bo iskalnik povezan z loženkami, ki so ga razvili na Inštitutu. So, because the first talk was unfortunately cancelled, I will now invite the second key speaker, Dr. Katrin Hein, for the Leibniz Institute for German Language. She will present the compound pattern explorer KoMuX developed at the Leibniz Institute.
Yeah, thank you very much, Boris. It's a great honor for me to give you some insight into our research on German word formation today. I will share my screen with you now. So, as Boris already said, the topic of my talk today is investigating German word formation, the compound pattern explorer KoMuX. And this is a tool which was developed by my colleague Annelien Brunner and me. And before we start, I would like to give you some background information about our institute. So I'm from the Leibniz Institute for the German Language in Mannheim, a short IDS. And our institute is the central scientific institution for the documentation of the German language and for research into the contemporary usage and the recent history of the German language. We have 5 departments which all work on longer-term projects, and therefore we are all organized in quite large research groups. These are the 5 departments. So besides the central research, we have a department of grammar, a department of lexical studies, then there's a department of pragmatics and a department of digital linguistics. We also provide research infrastructure for the scientific community. For example, we have a big library, different online services, machine-readable text collections, language databases, and so on. And all of this is available for external researchers. The department in which this compound pattern analyzer was developed is the Department of Lexical Studies. That's why I would also give you some background information about our department. On our research agenda, we have the lexical inventory of contemporary German. And our aim is to describe and also to document different classes of lexical units like neologisms, loanwords and foreign words, multi-word units and compounds, or the lexis of non-European varieties of German. And our compound pattern analyzer was developed within the project Syntagmatics in the Lexicon. The research in our department is based on extensive empirical studies, mainly on the basis of corpora, and we are also trying to construct linguistic theory on the basis of our empirical findings. Our research is conducted in 3 areas or 3 main areas. So first area is lexicography and language documentation. Then we have the syntagmatic aspects of the lexicon. And the third area is empirical and digital lexical studies. And there are also 3 main online portals, and the compound pattern explorer that I will present you today is part of the Ovid Plus portal. Yeah, now let me start with a short introduction. So as the name of our tool already suggests, we are dealing with compounds, namely with German nominal compounds. And as compounds in German are always right-headed, in our case, this means that the head word, so the right word, is always a noun. And in the overall context of our project, one can say that we are dealing with syntagmatics at word level in the case of compounds. And on this slide, I put together some nice examples like Provinz einerlei, Backwoods monotony, Gartenzwerg-Attitüde, Garden Gnome Attitude, or scharfe Zellen war gestern Bettwäsche, counting sheep was yesterday bedding. As I already mentioned, our compound pattern explorer KoMuX emerged from our work in the field of word formation patterns. And in this is a sub-area of the project syntagmatic aspects of the lexicon. And we aim at describing word formation phenomena, mainly compounds, but not only compounds, on a broad empirical basis. This is still a research gap for the German language. Moreover, we are trying to carve out word formation patterns by combining a qualitative and a quantitative perspective. And this is also important to highlight. We are also trying to explain or describe our corpus-based patterns theoretically. Yeah, this is my agenda for today. So first of all, I will give you an overview of our tool. And I will also go into details about the database. Then the second part of the talk, for the second part, I have planned a live demo of our tool. And for that purpose, I prepared 2 exemplary search queries. And then I will close with a short outlook. So let me start with the overview. Our compound pattern explorer KoMuX for the first time makes at least a part of our data on compounding freely available and searchable. So everybody can use it online. And now it allows you to search an inventory of approximately 50,000 German nominal compounds for underlying patterns. And those patterns can be abstract or lexically partially specified. Yeah, what do we mean by patterns? This is a concept which is very important for the compound pattern analyzer, but also for our theoretical background. What we mean by pattern approach is that we conceive compounds as concrete linguistic realizations of underlying abstract or semi-abstract patterns. In the case of German, these compound patterns are always binary in nature. So on the highest level, each compound can be divided in 2 parts, namely a head and a non-head, independently of the complexity of the underlying compounds. So here we have one famous example for one of the German Bandwurmkomposita. You know that this is really specific for German, that you can that compounds can get really, really complex, so there are no limits. And here we have the example Donaudampfschifffahrtskapitänsdiensthandy, the new steamship captain's service cell phone. And even if this compound is really, really complex, we can see that it's binary. So we have the non-head and the head. This pattern approach is theoretically motivated, but is also one of the main search functionalities of KoMuX. And this pattern approach allows us to display groups of compounds that are defined by the combination of first and second elements with specific properties. And these properties can be grammatical, they can be semantic, thematic, or also you can also specify lexical properties. I will give you some examples on the next slide. And as I already mentioned, this pattern approach is also theoretically motivated. So, for example, patterns can serve to explain observable differences in productivity, or more generally speaking, perhaps patterns can also serve as a basic principle that explains how composition works or how the inventory of compounds might be structured, even if these are really, difficult questions, I would say. Okay, so the types of patterns which can be searched with KoMuX are illustrated in this screenshot. So this is our web page, the main menu. And here you can specify the properties for the head word and or the non-head. And now I will show you, or at least give some examples for different searches that you can do with KoMuX. So you can search for patterns which are defined via the lexical properties of the head or the non-head. For example, you can search for compounds with a lexical anchor, like all compounds ending in man. And then you get results like Lederjackenmann, leather jacket man, or Museumsmann, museum man. Second, patterns can also be defined via the word formation type of the head word or the non-head. For example, I can look for compounds whose parts are compounds themselves. This property of recursion, that you can build new compounds by the help of existing compounds, is a very specific property for compounding in German. And a search like that gives you results like Autobahnraststätte, Highway Service Station, or Frauenfußball-Weltmeister, Women's Soccer World Champion. Then the third option is to search for patterns which are defined via the part of speech of the head word or the non-head. For example, I can search for all compounds consisting of an adjective and a noun, and then I get results like Kleinkind, small child. And the last option is to search for patterns which are defined via the thematic properties of the components. For example, you can search for compounds whose constituents belong to a certain abstract thematic category. For example, here you can see it's possible to search for all artifact substance compounds, and then you get results like Betonmauer, concrete wall. So now you will get some more details in the demo of the two later. But before I jump into the tool, I would like to give you some details about our data collection and the underlying annotations. So it is important to highlight that KoMuX is based on a systematic data collection. in which, as far as I know, for the first time, all nominal compounds were automatically extracted from our German reference corpus. And all compounds come with automatically generated morphological annotations. Our compound inventory is based on the KoKra research corpus. This is a subpart of the German reference corpus. And this subcorpus contains approximately 7 billion tokens and contains mainly German newspaper texts. And this corpus, this was done in the grammar department of our institute. This corpus was then annotated with an automatic tool, which is based on the KaNu language tools. And this automatic tool provides a detailed morphological information for each token. And then, based on this annotation, it was possible to extract all nominal compounds automatically from the KoKra corpus. And then, yeah, we got a really huge list of compounds, which contains 489 million compound tokens. So we are really dealing with big data in that case. And yeah, the current version of our compound pattern explorer is only based on a subset of our data. Yeah, as I already mentioned, till now we have 50,000 types in the current version of KoMuX. As I already said, our data also includes automatically generated morphological information for each token. And this is illustrated on the simplified frequency list on the right. And I would like to give you some information about these underlying morphological annotation. So one important part of this annotations is that for each token, we have the hierarchical decomposition into components. So on the first level, the machine tells us where is the non-head and where is the head, which is very important. And then we also have information like part of speech, word formation type, and lemma for all the components of the compounds. Yeah, and in the last years, we tried to improve these existing automatic annotations manually and semi-automatically. As you can imagine, doing this manually is really lots of work as we have lots of tokens. And this correcting our huge list of compounds mainly means that we tried to remove incorrect entries. So we removed words that are not nominal compounds. And then there were incorrect decompositions or incorrect assignments of word formation type or part of speech. But as you can imagine, of course, there are still errors in the database, but nonetheless, I would say that it's till now a unique database for empirical studies on German word formation, even if, of course, some errors in the database remain. Yeah, in the latest version of KoMuX, we expanded the search options and included also more abstract thematic categories of the components as an annotation layer. I will show you some example later in the live demo. so all components now have also information about their thematic category. For example, those are categories like substance, artifact, time, and so on. And the basis for this annotation is Germanet. Germanet is a lexical semantic word network that semantically relates German nouns, verbs, and adjectives to each other by grouping lexical units expressing the same concept into synsets and defining semantic relations between those synsets. And as you will see, those thematic categories are an interesting option to access the compound data, but due to the nature of those Germanet categories, there are also some pitfalls. So the problem of Germanet, I would say, is that the categories are organized very differently. So we have some categories like tier, animal, which establish a hyperonymic relation to almost all of their members. On the other hand, we have categories like cognition, which are organized more like a thematic field, I would say. And then the third option is that there are other categories like feeling, which are organized partly hyperonymic and partly thematic. Okay. Now, if it works, I would like to jump directly into the tool and show you some search queries that you can use. Okay, I hope that you can see my screen again. If not, please let me know. So here we have the web page that you already have seen in the screenshot. And I would like to start with here you can specify the properties of the non-head and the head word. And I would like to start with a very general search query and then show you some results, which I did not mention yet, is that we also have visualizations here, which should make it easier to understand the data or to understand the distributions within the data. Okay, the first query is a quite general query, and now I would like to search for all compounds whose first constituent is also a compound. So here I can specify the word formation type of the non-head. I only want a compounds in the non-head position, and there are no specifications for the head word. Okay, then first of all, as a result, you get a table, which is you can also be sorted. And in this table, you can see all the corresponding compounds. And then you also have the detailed information for all the components of these compounds. And this table can also be downloaded, which perhaps is important if you're trying to do some research on the basis of our compound data. And then as a result, we have different submenus. The first submenu is like an overview. You have some information like frequency curves and some diagrams. Then the second menu is about frequency. And here we have also some nice visualizations. For example, here, as we did not specify the word formation type of the head word, it might be interesting to look at this visualization here, which tells you something about the word formation, the distribution of word formation types in the head word. So, for example, you can see here that most of the words, the head words are simplex words, and then you can also go see the different words from the data here, like evening, election, house, and so on. And then I can also see that we also find derived word in the head position, conversions, and also compounds. And we have the same type of diagrams for the distribution of part of speech. For example, I can see that in the non-head position, we have mainly nouns, but that there are also some adjectives or verbs. And then we have another menu, Verknüpfungen, which is set to tell you something about the relations between the different components that we have in the data. Also, this is a very nice visualization. And for example, here you can see which components combine with other components. For example, here I have the word football, Fußball, as a non-head. And then in this diagram, I can see that it combines with many different head words, like fan, game, and so on. And you can see all the different partners with which football is combined. So this was a quite general search option. And now I will give you some examples for this patterns which are defined via the abstract thematic properties of the components. So I can, those are called thematic categories in our menu here. So for both components, now I will specify the thematic category here. And one search pattern is time natural phenomenon. We already did some research about this pattern, so that's why we know that we can find some nice examples here. So in the non-head position, we only want words which belong to the abstract category time. And in the head position, I only want words which belong to the abstract category natural phenomenon. Ooh. Okay. Yeah, and then here you can see it's some nice results. We have then compounds like midday heat, night rain, summer heat, and so on, who are all displaying this pattern. And a last thematic pattern that I would like to show you is the pattern substance artifact. So I only want substances in the non-head position and only artifacts in the head position. Yeah, and then some of those compounds were also part of my presentation till now. And then you get results like Lederjacke, leather jacket, and so on. Yeah, now I would like to jump back into my presentation for the outlook. Okay. Now, a short outlook. So there are some important things to do for the future. So one important aspect to improve our compound pattern analyzer would be to integrate our complete inventory of German nominal compounds into the Compound Pattern Explorer, which especially from a technical point of view, is a quite difficult task. That's why we have not already done this. And a second aspect which would be important is so as you have seen till now, we all, as a result, KoMuX only provides word lists. But I think for everybody who's doing research on compounds, it would be very important to have also the textual context as a result. And yeah, these are two important tasks for the future. And then one thing that I would like to mention is that right now we are also working on a new compound resource. It's under construction right now and will be available I think at the end of the year. It's not a it's still a database about compounding, but about a very special type of compounding, phrasal compounds. Here you can see an example. Ich finde, du bist weak, Rep. I think you are weak, Rep. And those formations are special because they have the structure of a quite normal compound, but in the non-head position, there is a syntactic phrase or an entire sentence. And the plan is to have a searchable database of phrasal compounds, which will be based on the corpus that I compiled for my dissertation. Yeah, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Katrin, and congratulations on this project. It was I think it's very impressive. We can agree on that, and it was also very informative for us. I think we have time for a question or two. Yep, Senia.
So I have two questions. So first one is in terms of errors. So when you do manual check after using automatic tools, what approximately is the manual effort needed? How many mistakes would be there if you just use the entire output?
Yeah, thank you. Of course, we tried to get an impression about the error rate because this is very important. And so we have different aspects of automatic analysis, but it was all about, I would say, 95, so 95 or 97% are correctly. So the error rate is quite low.
So then,
but
okay.
Still there are errors.
Yeah, but it's relatively small number then in total, right?
Yes.
And is this also so when you showed, I think, for headwords, then you say if it's a simplex or if it's compound or derivation. So this is also automatically assigned?
Yes, this is also done automatically because I don't know if you ever heard about this Canoe language tools. They do not exist anymore. This was all included in this annotation. It's really great for compounding, I think.
Yeah, because probably once you do the manual check, you can then also improve the tools based on your annotations and then get really nearly to perfect
that's true,
results.
yeah.
And then maybe the last question. So once you move from 100,000 to this huge corpus, right, of 500,000 tokens, or what was it? So how will you visualize the data? Because the visualizations that you showed, they were quite on the upper bound of understandable. Yes. So what are the plans for that?
Yeah, besides those technical problems with the huge data, the visualizations are, as you said, you will not see anything more if the data gets bigger. And I'm still discussing this issue with my colleague Annelien Brunner, who is the computational linguist in our project. And one option is just like to cut the list. So I don't know, only to use the the most frequent words for a query, so that you, at some point, I think for the visualizations, you have to cut the data.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You cannot see anymore. I think even in the visualizations I have shown you before, it's not that you can see every detail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks a lot. It would be nice to discuss it more.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a short question. Why did you decide to focus on compounds in your project, and what is the percentage of other word formation types?
So I cannot tell you anything about the percentage of other word formation types because we only extracted compounds. We focused on compounds because we were interested in combinatory processes like productivity. So one of the questions was, why do some words combine more frequently than others? And we looked at different properties of lexemes which might influence those combinatory processes. We are only we started now to do research on affixes, but this is a completely different database. So unfortunately, I cannot say anything about the percentage, even if this would be very interesting to know.
Okay, thank you. Do you have another question? Imamo še kakšno vprašanje? No, so if not, I would like to thank you once again, Katrin, Hein. Mi pa imamo zdaj čas za prvo pauzo. Zadaj vas lepo vabim za torej kava, čaj in prigrizki. Tako da imamo pol ure časa, torej začnemo s prvo sekcijo ob 11:30. So we will start with the first section at 11:30. Hvala.